All right, thank you everybody for joining us today. We're gonna kind of go through some things for the corporate games here. We'll do a few welcomes and everything. We are recording this, of course, so if you've got colleagues, other admins that aren't able to see it, we'll have this published later for you. But first thing we want to do, it is 8:31, so we will go ahead and get started. I know we do have a few people still trying to get in, but we'll start get this going here to kind of in respect for everybody's time. Just want to kind of address obviously the elephant in the room, which is our current situation that we have, the current crisis is going on, and just rest assured that we are planning this event, kind of hoping for the best, but we are preparing for the worst as well. So we are thinking of different ways to do things. In one way or another, we fully intend to have the corporate games. If some events have to be postponed, we're open to extending the time frame of the games. They take place this year. There's, as you all are probably dealing with in your own jobs, it's a very fluid situation. So there's a million possibilities out there right now. Nothing that it's easy for us to say we're going to do this, this, and this. But if we're unable to gather in groups for a time, we'll be working on some additional virtual opportunities that we can do. We're brainstorming now and coming up with some different things, and have been talking about that the past couple of weeks. But like I said, it is possible that our time frame changes and some of the events will change. But we do feel that during times like this, the reason for the corporate games, which is team building, engagement, connecting within our communities and our coworkers, this is more important than ever right now, we feel like. And so just for to help with some normalcy and everything through this time, we're really looking forward to this more than we even normally would be. But with all that said, this meeting does have a lot of important information that's included. So we'll conduct the meeting as though the events are going to be held as they're scheduled. And so if we do have to make changes to the games at some point, we will remain in communication. We do have regular communication like we'll talk about later, but we'll stay in communication with the company admins to let you know what the plans are. And if we have particular changes, we'll post that publicly as well. And so, as always, if you have questions, please reach out to me. I'm Matt or Kyle, who I'll introduce a little bit later. So we're going to go ahead and get started then, and we're going to introduce our first speaker, Troy Henrich from Corteva, who will give a welcome. And of course, they were supposed to host our in-person meeting, so we do want to thank Corteva for the offer, and they've hosted our past couple of years, and so we just want to thank them for that. But Troy, I'll go ahead and turn this over to you. And if you want to do your webcam, you can.
Sure. Okay, so I'll start things off. I wanted to just first start off by saying thanks to Matt and the Des Moines Corporate Games team for allowing me to share. I also wanted to thank you guys for your efforts that you guys put forth. Coming from an industry and background similar to yours in my past career, I know how much work it takes. So I think you guys really deserve a pat on the back for that. From year to year, the games just keep getting better, and really hence the growth in your guys' numbers. Little quick introduction of myself. My name's Troy Henrich. I'm the contract and program manager for the Corteva Agri-Science Wellness Centers. That said, I oversee 3 corporate wellness centers, 2 in Johnston, 1 newer one in the last year in Indianapolis. I've been in my role now, I suppose, going on 9 years. When talking about programming, really it ranges anywhere from what you'd think of a traditional corporate wellness center from an internal programming standpoint. We have group fitness, we have personal training, things like that. All that stuff happens within the wellness center itself, wellness centers. And then we also have external programming. We do campus walks, runs, could put teams together for community events like your Des Moines or DAM to DSM, and then involvement in the Des Moines corporate games. I actually work with a team of 5 employees. That's including myself and my program manager in Indianapolis as well. Just a little bit of a background on Corteva Agri-Science. Some of you guys are probably like, who's this Corteva Agri-Science? We're actually an ag business, previously DuPont Pioneer. That might resonate a little bit more to most. We're going into our 4th year of participation in the Des Moines corporate games. And really in a roundabout way, the Des Moines corporate games ended up on my team's plate, which it should have in the first place. But any of you guys out there that have wellness centers, you probably know we don't function with a lot of money. So when Matt reached out to me over 4 years ago. The answer really came from a place of no, because we were part of HR and the money didn't filter there. But we were in a unique time, so it worked out well for us. Upper management thought the Des Moines Corporate Games would be a great event, considering we were going through the Dow-DuPont merger at the time. So even though I came from a place of no originally, it made it up to the top, worked its way back down. And year one, when this made it down our way, I was excited to participate in it. Number one, I'm like, oh, this is great opportunity. But we had no clue where to start. I'm like, okay, what do we do? We sort of formatted some things for ourselves, and we really made it work. It was a tough year one, going through the start of a merger. Any of you guys that have gone through a merger know what happens, layoffs. So year one was a good year. Year two, same type of thing, transitioning through a merger, to year three, last year being our first year where our spinoff was complete and we were actually Corteva AgriScience. And looking back at those 3 years, I can be honest and say this: the Des Moines Corporate Games, really helped our employees with getting a true sense of company pride, a sense of togetherness. It boosted our employees' morale when we were going through a tough time. So I can look at that and say, this was, a great opportunity for employees and my staff included. You might ask, how does the Des Moines Corporate Games work for us? Again, 4 years ago, we looked at this and we're like, what are we going to do? How are we going to start this? We sort of started with well, there's 24 events. Why don't we try to find 24 captains scenario? And that's kind of what we did. We set up co-captains for all events and sports. We just did a basic Zoomerang survey to gauge interest, and we went from there. And then once we knew our captains, we used our internal model, the employees I had, so myself and my 3 other employees, sort of as the admins, or what we like to call them as the ambassadors. Each of our employees were responsible for 6 sports and events. And then we just sort of worked as that go-between, the communicator to the captains. So, that's sort of what worked for us. Because of how much interest employees had in this from our promotions and the participation numbers, we did it this way. I think some other businesses out there did it a little bit differently, but we just randomly drew teams, with the exceptions of bags and bowling. Bags, we actually did an internal tournament. In bowling, we just used bowl.com. That just worked well for us. I know, some other organizations maybe have the opportunity to do some events where you can, build your teams. One of the fun things that was a takeaway for us from the Wellness Center standpoint, we had 204 unique participants in last year's games, and only 68 of those were Wellness Center members, and 136 of them were non-members. So Des Moines Corporate Games gave us a chance to really sort of promote our Wellness Center platform and get to know some new employees along the way. So I'm really appreciative of that. It's helped build our running group, our cycling clubs, things like that. How we spread the word for the Des Moines Corporate Games and what's worked for us, and again, this not necessarily the same for everyone, but we've used an HR email that went out to basically all employees. I know some of you are probably, holy cow, we're not able to do that. And like I said, what you got to do for you is going to work for you, and what we do for us works for us. We also use bulletin board flyers. We did intranet communications, captains word of mouth, spreading it through our Wellness Center networking, that be our newsletters or promotional stuff. And then really along the way, we kind of like to tell a story to try to keep employees engaged throughout. So we did a weekly email, sort of as a weekly type newsletter thing, just sort of telling the story and really promoting engagement in the games. And really, I suppose the last tips I really want to share with those of you that are new admins to the Des Moines Corporate Games. Remember this: we're all different. Some of you guys are in HR, some are admins. Maybe you're set up like we are with a Wellness Center team, or maybe you just got the Des Moines Corporate Games delegated to you. We are all different. What works for one might not work for another, but you got to find what works for you. And I can tell you, just don't give up. Try to get the word out there to your employees and let them enjoy the games for what they are. But along the way, don't be afraid to ask for help, if that be reaching out to Kyle, if it be reaching out to Matt, or other admins that have had success that might be similar businesses to you. Their model might work better for you. And then really, my last thing, along the way. There might just be one of you sitting here on this call as an admin. Don't try to do this on your own. Try to build a team of 4 to 5 employees that can be ambassadors to help you guys along the way. So really, Matt, that's what I wanted to share with everybody today, and that's it.
All right, thanks, Troy. Appreciate that. I'm gonna go ahead now and I'll turn on my webcam for a little bit, just so in case you don't know me, you can see who I am. Ignore the air traffic control headphones, working really well for me today. So the next slide here. Maybe. All right, so again, my name is Matt Beatty. I am the Chief Operating Officer for the Iowa Sports Foundation and the Director of the Des Moines Corporate Games. I'm looking forward to meeting everybody as we go through the summer here. But kind of going with what Troy said, we've been doing this for 5 years, and it's been amazing to see the impact of the games and what it's had on the Des Moines Metro and the community here as we've grown. This year, I think we have 83 companies participating, which is our highest yet. So it's been a fun ride, and we're looking forward to doing everything again this year. I also want to introduce you to Kyle Wagner, new member of our staff this past fall. You've probably heard from him quite a bit. Kyle, you can unmute yourself if you'd like and say hi.
Yes, good morning, everyone.
So Kyle will be your lead contact for the most part. A lot of communications will be coming through him, but again, never be afraid to reach out to me as well. As Kyle's learning some things I know just because I've been doing this for so long. And so it's one of those things where I'm always happy to help. So no problem, reach out to or talking to everybody. But I'm going to turn off my webcam. I don't think you want to look at me this entire time. It's going to be enough to hear me for most of it. So we will move on to our next slide here, though, and we're going to go ahead and introduce our charity partner, Adaptive Sports Iowa. And a portion of every company entry fee is donated to support ASI's mission. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll bring on Hannah Lundeen, and she can introduce herself. I'll get you unmuted here in a second, Hannah.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Like Matt said, my name is Hannah Lundeen, and I'm the Director of Adaptive Sports Iowa. And for those of you who don't know who we are or what we do, I'm just going to give you just a brief overview of kind of what we do, and just so that you kind of know that your money is going towards a good cause. So Adaptive Sports Iowa, we are linked to the corporate games just through the Iowa Sports Foundation, and our pillar or our organization, we specifically focus on providing sports and recreation opportunities to Iowans that have physical disabilities and visual disabilities. So whether that is someone who is in a wheelchair, has an amputation, has a visual impairment of sorts, anything like that, anything that's physical disability, we are willing to bring them into our programming, help them out, give them an opportunity to be active, to have a competitive kind of thing that they do, or recreational. We have multiple different programs that we have for either of those. So a few of the different programs that we have, we currently have 10 different programs in our organization, so that we have just a good variety for different interests and stuff. So a couple of those, our largest event that we do each year is RAGBRAI. We have an 80-rider team for RAGBRAI each year, where we will help any individuals who want to participate on RAGBRAI. We'll help them kind of get the training that they need and provide overnight accommodations. We have our own team nurse, our own team mechanics, anything like that, to help these individuals who need kind of some extra support along the way. So we have that team, which is definitely our largest event each year. It's super fun, super crazy. We definitely enjoy it. Another large program that we have is our winter ski experience, which happens at the beginning of February. up in Boone at Seven Oaks, and we do a 3-day event that is downhill skiing. So that can be for youth or adults with physical disabilities. They have the opportunity to have ski lessons, and if any of their family members want to ski along as well, they can participate in that. An example of that in the bottom right-hand corner is that picture and a couple of our students skiing from this last year. So that was super fun. Another program that we have is our youth sled hockey group. This is only a 3-year-old program, so we're still growing, but we play sled hockey up in Ames, which is a really fun sport if you haven't ever looked into it. It's kind of crazy. It's played pretty much just like regular hockey, but you're on little sleds going around on the ice. For visual impairments, we have beach baseball and goalball. And this summer, we're really excited because Ames is hosting the Beach Baseball World Series. So our team is super excited to participate in that, and they're rearing to go this summer once hopefully all this coronavirus stuff is over, that they can get practicing and really get amped up for this summer. A couple other programs that we have an adult wheelchair basketball program that's more on the recreational side, but they also participate in a couple tournaments around Iowa each year. This year, we're also both at Lifetime Fitness, and then we're doing a tournament up in Ames in the fall. And then another program that we have that we're really excited about, kind of bummed out right now, but youth track and field, we have a lending program where we will give out track and field equipment for students. So in the top left picture, you can kind of see those students at the state track meet, and they get to participate all around the state and in state track meet each year. And this year we were super excited because we were going to be getting into the Drake relays and the Grand Blue Mile, and with all this coronavirus stuff, who knows kind of what the future holds for that right now, but we're still really excited, really anticipating some awesome partnerships with both of those events. So those are just a couple of our programs that we have. We have a couple others, but try not to take up too much of your guys' time. And all these programs that we provide are free of cost to our participants. So we provide all the equipment, all of the venues, everything for free. They pretty much just have to get there and they can participate for the most part. So really, that is huge on the fundraising side of trying to get enough funds in order to be able to provide all these programs for free, because they some of them are definitely not cheap. So as the charity partner for the Des Moines Corporate Games, a portion of each of your registrations will go towards Adaptive Sports Iowa and go towards whether we need new equipment for some of our sports, or helping kind of sponsor someone to be able to go on RAGBRAI, whatever it is. Just know that those portions of your registrations are going to someone that could really use it for sure. So any questions that you guys have about Adaptive Sports Iowa, feel free to email me or call me. The email that Matt will be sending out later will have all my contact information on it. So feel free to call me or email me anytime. I don't care, just not in the middle of the night. But so yeah, hopefully you guys have a great time at the Des Moines Corporate Games this summer, and best of luck to all of you.
All right, thanks, Hannah. Appreciate it. There was one spot that I think you cut out there a little bit, and I believe you were talking about tennis. So I want to let people know that, yeah, we're doing an adaptive sports tennis program. That's a new one for ASI. So, and as Hannah said, you know, any questions, if you know anybody that would benefit from the programs, whether it be coworkers, family, friends, yourself, that you know, let Hannah know, and be glad to get you some information on that. All right, so a little overview of what we'll be discussing throughout the day for the corporate games. We'll have some specific information here coming up on our community challenges, our challenges and some unique events that we're doing. We'll go through sport and event information, administrator tools, we'll talk about volunteering with the corporate games. We'll talk about Corporate Games Manager, which is our software that's part of the Corporate Games website. And then we will open it up to questions, and we'll try to answer those then. If you have any questions during the presentation, I know Kyle's keeping an eye on the question box down there. Feel free to type that in. There is a spot you can raise your hand, but we might not see that with so many attendees. So if you do have a question, feel free to type that in. If it's something that we can answer on the fly, we will. Otherwise, we might hold it till the end. But we will kind of go on here to our next piece. We're going to talk about the blood donation challenge. And so, whoops, back to that slide. And we're going to bring on Danielle West from the from LifeServe Blood Center. Let's see. All right, I think you have to unmute yourself, Danielle. There we go. Oh, okay, do it again. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're good to go.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. As Matt said, I'm Danielle West. I'm the Director of Marketing and PR at LifeServe Blood Center. So just a quick overview about LifeServe. We are the community blood center in this area. So we are the only one that provides blood products to all of the community hospitals really across the state of Iowa. So we're super excited to be, again, part of Corporate Games. This has been huge for blood donation, especially in the summer months when we struggle to get donations. We do have some uncertainty about COVID-19 right now, so we've been making some changes at the blood center for sure, and it might look different this summer, really just depending on what's going on in May. Normally we run this from May through July, so we've extended it a little bit longer to get people in to be able to donate a couple times throughout the challenge. We will see where we are in May, but we're encouraging people right now to still schedule their blood drives, work with our team to get those on the calendar, making appointments, things like that, and hopefully everything will run smoothly from May through July. If our time frame changes because of COVID-19, I've talked to Matt, and I think we're going to be flexible on what that looks like, and so we'll definitely keep people posted on that. Most people have blood drives in May and July, something like that, to offer a couple opportunities for their team members. Or we've had people bring in groups to our donor centers. So we have 7 donor centers across the state, but 2 here in the Des Moines area that people can come in and donate as well. With COVID-19, we've canceled our bus blood drives right now because of the proximity of our donors and trying to ensure safety. So if that's the case in May, we're kind of playing it by ear at this point, but we'll definitely be in touch with people. We'd prefer to get things on the calendar and then go from there. So I know in Matt's email, we have Kyle Charles from our team that's kind of going to be the contact, and then he'll get you in touch with the right person to help coordinate your blood drives. I do have some numbers from last year just to share really the impact that this has on LifeServe and our community blood supply. Last year, we had over 2,000 blood donors as part of Des Moines Corporate Games. And one donation really affects 3 lives in our community because we break that donation up into platelets, plasma, and red cells. So the impact is over 6,000 lives in our community were impacted through your generous blood donations. And that's a huge number for us, especially in the summertime as schools and things like that aren't having blood drives, which is really the case right now too that we're going into. So we'll definitely still have a need for these blood drives, and we will make it happen to continue this competition throughout the summer, however it may look when we get started in May. We also had almost 300 first-time donors, which is first-time donors with LifeServe or overall. Again, that's an amazing number. This has been a huge part of what we do in the summer, so I appreciate Des Moines Corporate Games for having us a part of this, and all of you guys for working with us and supporting your community blood supply. So please let us know if you have questions. And again, we'll just play it by ear with the COVID-19 and what we might look like in May.
All right, thanks, Danielle. And kind of going a little bit into the details with the blood donation challenge. We have it's like Danielle said, runs May 1 through July 31, and that could change, of course. We do award a award special to this event. It's not part of the point system for corporate games. It will be, there's no points for this, but there's credit awarded for each donation by an eligible employee. And there's a couple different ways to earn points and earn a credit towards a blood donation challenge. And one is to go into a Life Serve Blood Center and donate there. Tell them it's for the corporate games and tell them the company you're with. Or if your company hosts a blood drive, that's where all the donations that come in. It doesn't matter if it's an employee, friend, family, spouse, anybody who comes in to donate for your company will count towards the blood donation challenge. All right, our next community challenge, a similar setup in that there's credit. It's not a point system here. We're going to let Georgie from Meals from the Heartland talk about it, and then I'm going to unmute you here, Georgie, so you can talk. And then when you want me to send it over to your screen so you can show the website, just let me know.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you, Matt. We're excited to be a part of the corporate games again here. Last year, I think we packaged close to, I want to say close to 1 million meals with everybody. So we love partnering with all the great businesses here in the Des Moines area, and just feel like we're able to make a big impact with what we do. Just want to support the blood drive too. I know that's greatly needed right now. So really encourage you guys to take advantage of that. Obviously, us with people being unemployed right now, we're sending out a lot of meals to help food pantries bring relief to people here in Iowa and around the Midwest and the U.S. at large too. So which is challenging considering we're not packaging very much right now. But what we do is we're a nonprofit meal packaging or hunger relief organization, and we partner with schools, businesses, and churches all over the great state of Iowa to host meal packaging events. And then we take those meals and send them out really all over the world. Last year we packaged over 23 million meals when all was said and done. And last year, or just earlier this year, we crossed the 150 million meal mark for our organization. So we continue to grow. Obviously, like everyone else right now, we're having some challenges, but we're still pressing forward. So basically, there's 2 ways for you to package meals with us. One is to come to our packaging center here in West Des Moines, right off of 63rd and Railroad. We have open pack shifts that are basically Tuesday through Saturday. We have an online calendar that'll show you how to sign up here in just a couple seconds. And that runs June 1 through July 18. And so you can bring anybody down here. Basically, anyone can package our meals. We would say anybody from the age of 5 to 95, and regardless of ability. And so we really try to make sure that even if you're in a wheelchair, you have to sit down, things like that, that you can still package meals. We've even done packaging events with the School of the Blind here in Des Moines as well. So it's great for family, friends, really anybody that you bring to our site. If you sign up with the Des Moines Corporate Games and your company, we'll count them. We don't really care who packages. We just want to package as many meals as possible. So consider that if you have a great time being together as a family, or you want to bring some friends, or even if it's just a single person, you can come down and we'll count you towards your company's total as well. So the other way that you can package is if your company wants to host or sponsor a mobile meal packaging event, we can bring the event to you. That's part of my role here as a mobile event manager. We have a couple straight trucks. We load up all the ingredients, the supplies, bring them to you. And that really minimizes the downtime of your employees. We can do it during the day, any day of the week except for Sunday. And it's just a great way to kind of build camaraderie and community and togetherness at your company. When we do bring an event to you, we ask you to provide the funding for those meals. And that can be, it'll just be a donation, and we can talk about that if you're interested. It's about 20 cents per meal. And then, we kind of set minimums based on distance and things like that. So, but we're happy to, I know several companies did that last year. And we try to leave the last 2 weeks of the competition open just for mobile events, because that's a way for companies to really get a lot of people in during a short period of time towards the end there. So you will be counted kind of similar to the blood donation. This isn't specific points that go towards your overall total. This is a separate award. And we count each individual person. So if John from Corteva shows up 10 times, every time John shows up, he's going to get 1 point. And if he brings a friend every time, he'll get 2 points. And so we'll track that on our end, and then we update Matt kind of every week. We send him out an update on what the numbers are looking, so you can be aware of that. But I think now is probably a good time, Matt, to go over to the website, and I can kind of show how to sign up your group.
All right, here we go.
All right, so hopefully you can see my screen at this point. And this is our website. It's mealsfromtheheartland.org. And you want to use this website basically if you want to sign up for an open pack. Again, an open pack takes place at our site, and it's free to you, whoever shows up here. There's no requirement for funding. Obviously, as a nonprofit, we ask for donations if that's something that you want to do. But it's not required. So if you want to sign up here to one of our open packs or just explore our schedule, you just want to hover over the calendar bar and then click right here on sign up now. And I'll just kind of walk you through this. This will pull up our calendar, and right here at the top, you can kind of switch to whatever month you're interested in, either June or July. Basically, June and July are not open yet. They will open April 20th. But if you just want to get familiar with this system, you can see here that June does not have any shifts yet. But you can just click on this. You could send this out to all your employees and kind of let them, if they want to come here on their own, so you're really not managing them too much. And they can kind of see that we have shifts here Tuesday through Saturday, and the different times that are here as well. So I'm just going to click on one, say I want to come to the 2:30 pack. Friday is obviously a really busy time here as well, where in the afternoon people will come here, and then oftentimes they go down to the hall and enjoy happy hour, get some beers and things like that. But I'm just going to click on this one and then on event details. Once you do that, this is just going to confirm that you're interested in this event. Hit sign me up, and then it's going to ask you for some information at this point. So on this screen, the first thing you're going to want to do is just go down to the bottom, and it's going to tell you how many slots are available. Obviously, if shifts begin to fill up, we'll take them off the screen. But if you want to bring 15 people and there's only 5 available spots, obviously this shift is not going to work for you, so you want to find a different day. So basically, the main thing on this one is we do not want you to use autofill. Autofill kind of messes with our system, and it will not put your information in the proper slot for some reason. So just fill in your first name, last name, email, go right down here. In this one, the group name, very simply just put DCG for Des Moines Corporate Games plus your company. So if I work for Corteva, I would put in Corteva. You know, a different company, whatever. That just gives us a heads up to make sure that we're looking for your group, and we're going to count you towards the competition. Once that's done, if I want to bring 15 people, I'm just going to put in 15, and one person can sign up all 15 people through this system. And then down here on the bottom, I'm just going to hit next. I'm only going to hit next once. It'll take a couple seconds to register, and then we'll actually send you a confirmation email shortly after you sign up. So that's automatically generated. You should see that in just a couple minutes. Sometimes it goes to your spam folder, so you want to check that. If you're like, man, I've never done this before, I don't really know what you're talking about, go to our website and go down to the bottom here. Wells Fargo put together this really cool video. They hosted a packaging event, and you can see kind of what that's all about. If you want more information, I'm happy to send you an email or take a phone call. We have some other videos to kind of give you just an overview of what we do. You can see that in action. And if you're interested in a mobile event, but you're not sure about your site or how many people, I'm happy to visit your site and see if it's you know, conducive for what we do, and we can make sure it's going to work well for you and make a successful day, and take a phone call as well. So that's kind of an overview of what we do. Again, this is great for all ages. Anybody from the age of 5 to 95 is kind of what we say, but we've had people older than that as well. So that's kind of all that I have, unless somebody has a specific question.
All right, thanks, Georgie. I'll go ahead and come back to the presentation here. And then, yeah, if you do have questions for Georgie, feel free to ask. We did have a question come up asking if the slides and everything will be available afterwards. Yes, we are recording this, so we'll have that posted on our website, and we can make the slide deck available too if you'd like. All right, go ahead and move on to our next slide here. All right, so we're going to get into some of our sport and event information. And Kyle, why don't you go ahead and take it from here?
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, perfect. All right, so let's talk about who is eligible to participate. So the Des Moines Corporate Games is for your full and part-time regular employees in the Des Moines metro area, and we also allow retirees and interns to compete. Several events are family friendly. Some events do require a fee to the organizer, such as triathlon with the Iowa Games and road race with the Clyde Running Festival. But many events like the fitness walk, cycling tour ride require no fees at all, and any of those fees will be posted on the website. Next up, we have the sport event calendar. I know it looks daunting. That is all of the event calendars, but that we mix it up on weekend and weekday events. We try and switch it up so for each division, so they're not competing the same night every single week. The calendar is complete and posted on the homepage and in the admin toolkit of the Des Moines Corporate Games website. We also have division-specific calendars in the toolkit, so you can download one that only shows the events that are specific to your company. And then speaking of the website, I cannot stress enough how important the site is for information on each corporate games event. In most cases, the website can answer any questions that your employees will have, from the time, location, when the schedule will be available, the approximate length and time of the event. Event pages are designed to answer those common questions that we receive. But if we do understand questions that come up that cannot be answered to the website, so always happy to help out. And it might lead to us putting more additional information on the website. So don't hesitate to reach out if you need to.
All right, thanks, Kyle. So let's take a few minutes and go through some of the different events that are offered for the Des Moines Corporate Games. We're going to start with our individual sports and events, and we offer several of them, including both competitive and non-competitive events. And events that have unlimited participation require no intervention on the part of the employee or the administrator to let us know how many people are attending. So just something to remember, like with our fitness walk, cycling tour ride, yoga, we want people to declare their interest in Corporate Games Manager, which we'll get into later, but at the same time, we don't need someone from the company to tell us that somebody's going to be there. We'll use the numbers that we see in the system to give us an idea of how many people to expect. And along with that, for the unlimited events, unless specified in the rules, there is no penalty for no-shows. And just looking at this list, I don't believe there's anything on here that if someone says they're coming and they don't show up, there won't be any penalties in our point system for that. We do offer several participation events, such as the fitness walks, cycling, yoga, and Zumba. Encourage your employees to attend these events as much as possible. Anybody can come to it, it's unlimited, and they get points. Every employee that participates gets points in these events. And so it's a great way to get everybody involved, and they can be worth quite a few points if you can get as many people there as possible. But we do have some competitive events that are individual, and these are age group based. You'll see the basketball shooting, cross country race, duathlon, road race, track and field, and triathlon. And so in Corporate Games Manager, when people are declaring interest for these events, it'll show them only the age group and the gender that they're eligible for. And that the date that determines a participant's age varies per event. Most of them are the day of the event, but triathlon and duathlon are notable exceptions where we use USA Triathlon rules. And so that goes by 12/31. So if there's ever a question on there as far as age, it's generally day of the event, except for those two on there. And most of these events are unlimited participation. The only one on this list that is not would be track and field. And you can see down there, there's a limit of 2 men and 2 women per age group. For the 50+ age groups, we do allow 4 men and 4 women for that. And then each company is allowed 1 co-ed 4x1 team and 1 co-ed 4x4 team. And so kind of going into track and field a little bit more. Every year we're changing things up a little bit. We're hoping we're not going to after this year with how we're setting up the meets. So the track meets continue to grow. We've had, I think, over 700 people last year participate in track and field. It's really popular. It's at Drake Stadium. It's just a really cool atmosphere and a really fun event. So this year all of the meets are on a Saturday. In the past we've had the meets on a couple different nights, and just for logistics and for trying to keep the meets to not going too late at night and everything, we decided to move to a weekend. And so how we're doing it this year with track and field is we'll be using athletic.net. This is a website that is designed for track and field and cross country. A lot of high school and colleges use this to host meets. And so in the system there, let me kind of talk about a little bit, but this site will allow you to set your track and field rosters, and it allows a timer, our timer, to download the lists easily. And so later this week, lead company admin, so whoever we have as our main contact for your company, they'll be receiving an email to set up an account in athletic.net. Each company already has a team page activated. So for example, we have one for Iowa Sports Foundation right now in there with our track meet attached to it. So once you get in there, I'll use Corteva as an example, since Troy was talking. Once Troy gets his email, he'll be able to go in. They'll show him that they're invited to come to the track meet for Division I, and he'll be able to kind of go from there with it and invite other sport captains, other company administrators to act as a coach in that system. And so then they can upload rosters and put people in their events. And so with this, because track is a few months away, I didn't want to get into too much detail on that website in this presentation. It'll be easy to forget when it comes time. So we did create a tutorial, did this last night actually, with everything for how to use athletic.net once you're in the system. And so it's pretty easy to use, but definitely watch that video. It's in our admin toolkit. I'll show you in a little while where that's located. But rosters will be able to be updated and edited until Friday, June 26th at 5 p.m. And then the track meet is the next day, of course. So at the time of that deadline, the rosters are going to be downloaded by our timer, and participants will be entered into heats so that we can quickly turn around some heat sheets and people kind of have an idea of who they're competing against and when they're competing. And this method should help us do that. That's always been the hang up with the track meet, is trying to get that information out as quick as possible for everybody. So on the day of the meet, participants will still check in like they normally do, and we'll talk about check-in here a little bit later. But submitting rosters, I can't stress this enough. It's accurate rosters is really important. And if you had questions for me last year after we'd already posted our heat sheets, you know why? Because with that many people competing, it's really hard for us to go in and start making changes. If we do it for one person, we have to do it for everybody. So we have to hold the line pretty tight on that. We try to be flexible as much as we can with the corporate games, but that's one of those things that we really do have to be tight on. And so my suggestion is just to double check your rosters before that final deadline. That day, make sure you've got people in their proper events and everything. As long as people are putting in their birthday correctly, we'll be able to put them in the right age groups and everything else. And so another thing to emphasize here is if you do not complete a roster for track and field, your company will not be able to participate in the track meet. We do have to have those people in the meet. We did have that a couple times last year. And so we want to stress that to make sure that you at least go in, even if it's just a couple people, get them in there, get them signed up. That way they can come do their events. This is the one thing that we require rosters for, and I'll talk about that a little bit later too. But so this one is really important to make sure we get that done. But I do suggest, as Troy mentioned, having sport captains, having other people to delegate to. If you've got someone that's interested in track and field, let them be the sport captain for track and field. You can give them permissions to upload the rosters and take care of everything that way. And then you've got that off your plate as well. And somebody who really wants to do that can handle it. All right, so going into team sports, team sports do have a limit on the number of participants per company team, as well as a limit on the number of teams per company. So our roster, our sport roster limits, deadlines, and schedule availability document outlines that, and I'll show that on the next slide a little bit. But you can find this document in the admin toolkit on the website. So for scheduling purposes, each of these sports or events have a deadline where the company you will tell us yes or no, and that'll be in Corporate Games Manager. That will show you how to do that. But basically just saying, yes, we'll have a team, or no, we won't have a team. Or in the case of, say, a spike ball, yes, we'll have one team, yes, we'll have two teams, no, we won't have any teams. And so it's a pretty simple setup to use to tell us that. If you don't answer at all, we just assume there's no team. So we do want you to make sure you double check on that. And so we'll have these deadlines that we have for these events are rolling throughout the summer. Communications we send out will let you know what deadlines are coming up. So we'll definitely kind of hold your hand that way to help make sure that you know what's coming. But we do post, these deadlines are set on Wednesdays at the end of the day, and then by Friday at 5, we'll turn around the schedule for the whatever sports had a deadline on Wednesday. And so company admins, you all be emailed when schedules are available and directed to the website where you can pull a copy of those schedules. So we do try to have these deadlines are set a couple weeks in advance of each of these events, and having those schedules available a couple weeks in advance allow the companies to, it's close enough to the date of the event that you'll know whether or not you have enough interest for a team, but also far enough away from the event date that participating employees can see the schedule and plan accordingly. Because as any of you that are returning know what I'm talking about, a schedule comes out and employee A says, hey, I didn't realize that was the date for that event, I can't do it. So now your roster might be a little short. So that gives you a little bit of time to react, to maybe find another person who expressed interest or put out there saying, hey, we've got a team in this event, who wants to participate? So going back to the roster piece, we do not ask for rosters from the companies. We simply need to know whether or not you have a team, and when that allows you to make changes at the last minute and not have to inform us as to somebody's replacing somebody in the event. All that matters on our end, that enough employees show up to play and they have their account and corporate games manager set up so that they can check in. So that's the important part for us. All right, and here's an example of that events, limited, important dates document that'll be on the website. And I'm not sure how big it is for everybody to see, but you'll basically see the sport event, the limits per teams. Bags is a good example there. You're allowed to have 2 open teams. And so there's a minimum of 2 people on a team and a maximum of 2 people on a team for that one. Where basketball, it's 3 people on team minimum and 6 for a max. And the company deadline you'll see there, bags, for example, is July 1st, which is a Wednesday, and that schedule will then be posted on July 3rd. We'll take the answers from July 1st and turn that into a schedule pretty quickly. So again, no rosters to submit, just the yes or no that you'll have a team. All right, and employee check-in. It's something that people have to do at every event, and we want to mention here that we do have a little bit of a change this year, something new. We've tried to improve this system every year, but kind of what the employee check-in is it helps us confirm that the employees have agreed to the corporate games liability waiver, as well as assists us in reporting attendance at events. For events like fitness, walk, and yoga, the check-in is necessary in order to earn company points. So the event attendance information with this new system we have will also be available to companies, and I'll talk about that here in a second. But we want to thank Cellular Advantage and US Cellular for helping sponsor this and helping us with developing this new system. Basically, our goal every year is to provide better service for check-in, because there can be a little bit of a line, can be a little of a wait for check-in, and so we're always trying to improve that. And so now our check-in system this year is online. We'll be using some tablets from Cellular Advantage with self-service, mobile service, just because we don't have wireless everywhere. And we'll be able to do an online check-in that way. And we also have a feature where participants can check in from their phone. So you can try that QR code right now if you'd like. It's on there on the screen. There is a test event already set up for check-in. So how that works is you just use your camera app, or if you have a QR reader, just point it at the QR code. We'll have one posted. It'll be unique for every event. So you see yoga there on the screen when people are checking in, but we'll have something there. You can walk up to it, take that picture, and then check in on your phone, and it'll go through the same check-in process as on the devices that are there, and make sure that you know that you have checked in. Now, people do have to have their location services enabled for that. That way we can verify that they were in fact at that event. But as long as the employee has a current account in Corporate Games Manager and has agreed to the online waiver, the system is really easy to do. And so with this new online system, new this year, company administrators, you will have a report that you can pull check-in information for all of your events, either by event or everything together. I know in the past we've had some companies that ask us for an attendance report afterwards, and it's always, we can do it, but it's always a little difficult to put together because it's never been totally connected, but now it is. So it'll be really easy for you to pull your own report, and then we can pull reports on our side as well. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to Corporate Games Manager. All right, Kyle, want to talk about Burst Your Thirst?
Yes, I do. All right. So Burst Your Thirst is administered through Live Healthy Iowa. Registration will open May 4th. Participants will register through the Live Healthy Iowa website. That's important to know. And then companies form their own teams, but the team aspect isn't as important for the corporate games piece. You can use the teams internally if you wish to have your own competition amongst employees, but we will send company admins a group ID and a subsidy code by May 4th that makes the activity free when your participants register. So make sure when you advertise the challenge, you include that group ID and subsidy code specific to your employees, so they do not get charged. Flyers will be available for print and will be able to be customized to include these codes for each company. Everyone who signs up will receive a water bottle as well for the challenge. Those water bottles will be packaged by team and company and available for pickup at the fitness walk. While we encourage everyone to participate in the fitness walk, companies can have a designated employee pick up water bottles for multiple teams. New for Burst Your Thirst this year is the scoring system. So employees must record at least once per week for 5 of the 6 weeks to count towards company participation. Points will be given per 1% of the company that completes the challenge. And placing points will be awarded based on the percentage of eligible employees in each company that complete the challenge. I know it sounds very confusing, hard to explain with words, but if you look at the Burst Your Thirst rules on the website, that'll give you some examples to explain it a little bit in much more better detail. So if you have questions after that, do not hesitate to reach out to me. Matt, we do have a question regarding check-in. Want to look at that quick or come back to it at the end? I'll let you decide.
Yeah, I can do that. Yep. I see somebody's already tried to scan, so that's awesome. Let's see. Okay, is it possible to add a confirmation screen to the check-in? Yeah, it should. Patrick, I'll look at that. It should give a little thing on there that says so-and-so is checked in to an event. So let us look at that to make sure that's working. It's supposed to do the exact same thing as what our check-in site does. So it should have a little green dialog box, but we will check that out. And then I see we have a question from Lisa about picking up the water bottles prior to the walk. We could probably work something out with you for that too. So our goal here is to get the water bottles out as efficiently as possible. Without doing the mailings and everything else, we find that that's sometimes hard to get that out to everybody. So, all right, Kyle, you want to go ahead with our new thing that we have?
Yeah, and that's why we do tests, right, to make sure everything works. So
that's right.
So another new feature to the corporate games for 2020 is our Learn and Earn webinars. So we've added another opportunity that employees can do right from their desk and participate in the corporate games. This will be a monthly webinar series called Learn and Earn. We will have 3 webinars, one in each month of May, June, and July, that will focus to help participants lead a healthy lifestyle. Each topic will feature a subject matter expert. So I know we got Jeff Woody and Danny Flahy are 2 that we have confirmed so far, both very, very knowledgeable. So due to limitation with the live event, they will be recorded and posted on the website. And you have a set time frame, so you have about a week to watch each webinar to earn points. Each employee can earn 5 points per webinar that they watch. And in order to earn team points, employees must register individually to watch the webinar, as well as use this information to tally points. We'll post more information about these websites as details are finalized, but the majority of them are confirmed and up on the Corporate Games website.
All right, thanks, Kyle. We're kind of excited about that. The Learn and Earn, just another thing that we can do that people can do from their desk or at home. And we'd planned that before all the current COVID-19 issues came up. So we're happy that's just another way we can do that. But going into our volunteer program with the corporate games, this has been extremely popular for the corporate games. It's just one more way that people can participate, that maybe they're not interested in competing in an event or participating in events, but they want to be there and be around and support the corporate games and their coworkers. So Basically how it works is it is a vital thing for us too. So we're glad it's been so successful because we do need volunteers at a lot of our events. We're a small staff. And so by having volunteers helping out, it just makes the events run better. So volunteer needs, they do consist of tasks that really don't require any training. Things such as athlete check-in at events, assistance with directing participants at the road race, scorekeeping at 3-on-3 basketball. Everything can be trained on site. So if you've got employees that are curious about volunteering, but they're a little nervous about what they'll have to be doing, it's all easy stuff. So just things that we need bodies for in a lot of ways. And while volunteering isn't required for every company, the companies that do agree to provide volunteers will be rewarded with volunteer points. As you can see on there, volunteer points are worth 50, volunteer spots are worth 50 points apiece. And in the past, we had made that the extra volunteers, if you provide extra as less points. We're making them all 50 points now. It's just a lot easier for us to track, and it's just a good way to reward companies for bringing people to help out. So if you do agree, if your company agrees to provide volunteers, you will have a required set number of spots to fill. You can see on the screen there, this is our expected maximum number per division. And that may change too. If every company agrees to provide volunteers, then it'll probably be less just because we have so many spots that we need to fill. And you can see that number is consistent across the division. So like with Division 1, it would be 8. And we do that so everybody has the same opportunity to earn points. And one way to earn extra points is to bring bonus volunteers. For example, if your company has 2 required spots in events, you can bring an extra 1 or 2 people to help earn additional points. Please do not send 30 people. I brought that up last year because I know some companies probably would. You've got people that are interested, and everybody did a good job with that. It's great sometimes, to have a few extra people because we can always find something for them to do. So, but yeah, we don't need 30 people for 2 spots. So when we get into Corporate Games Manager, I can show you where you'll officially list if your company wants to provide volunteers, and then we use those answers to kind of finalize those numbers of required spots per division. And through Corporate Games Manager, as we've had the past couple of years, companies are able to select their top 5 preferences for events. You don't have to, but the opportunity is there. And I want to emphasize with that, it's not guaranteed that your company will get your preferred spots, but we do use those as we assign them. So we're always looking at those spots to try and fill according to your preferences. And these preferences are time-stamped, so the sooner you submit your preferences, the more likely your company is to get those preferred events. And preferences are due by May 1st, and we will assign tasks to companies within a few days after that. So employees will be able to show their interest in volunteering in their user profile. I'll show you that when we do some examples in Corporate Games Manager. And then within Corporate Games Manager, admins can assign those spots to employees right within that site. They'll get an email alert that they've been assigned to a volunteer spot as well. And family members and friends can fill spots. That's an important piece of this. As long as they're 16 years or older, they can fill a spot. And they can count towards those required volunteers. This is the one time that employees, family and friends can earn points for the company. This is one spot for that. So some new features this year with volunteering. In the past, we've added additional opportunities. As things come along, we use some spots that we know we can take some more people for, or we could use some additional help. And we've sent out emails to let people know that. And the responses have been fantastic. So within 10 minutes, I'll get 50 emails back when I say, hey, we could use a few more people for an event. So while that's fantastic, it is overwhelming, and I feel bad for somebody who doesn't check their email within that time, and an hour later they come back and those spots have been long gone. So because this response has been so great, we set up something within Corporate Games Manager that that companies can claim spots there. We won't have to have that email interaction. We've got some spots already set aside that'll be open, and we will post that in our communications that we have with admins, our weekly communications. We'll let you know what spots those are and when they'll come open, and then companies will have the ability at that point to grab those spots right there. And so I'll show you how that works when we get into it. I think we have a question here. Let me pull it up on the screen. Let's see, a couple questions here. Can you participate in an event such as Zumba and still be a volunteer for that specific event? It really depends on the event. Zumba would be a good example of that because the check-in happens before the event starts. So if someone was planning to participate and we had those spots for your company to be the Zumba check-in, yes, then that would be fine. and extra points for going over the max. That's, yeah, if you have bonus volunteers that come in and take, if you have 2 spots are required, you get your 100 points for that. If you bring in 2 extra volunteers to help with them, then we'll give another 100 points for that too. All right, so here's where we're going to kind of deviate away from the presentation a little bit as we get into this, but we're going to talk about the corporate games, the toolkit that we have. We're going to talk about corporate games manager, all the different things that we have available there. So let's talk about the toolkit first. And I don't want to bounce around too much, so we'll go to the website here in a second. I'll show you where all this is. But the toolkit, it's a link up on the website to a specific page, and there we have the admin manual for using Corporate Games Manager, our point system. We have a comprehensive list of all the points for all the events. Every sports page does have their own event or point system as well and listed there, but we do have one document. You can look at everything that way. We have that sport roster limit document that I showed earlier is located there. That also includes the team sport deadlines and schedule availability. And then we have customizable promotional material. Kyle alluded to this earlier when we were talking about Burst Your Thirst. Within that site, we've got posters, flyers, table tents, all of these things have the ability to customize with a logo, add your company code, which we'll talk about here when we get into Corporate Games Manager. And there's also a link for a Dropbox file that has a bunch of InDesign files, so you can make your own. If you have people in-house that are able to do that and you want to do your own custom materials, you're more than welcome to. But the flyers and posters have a spot where you can put your company logo on them in addition to the information we have listed. So we've tried to make that so there's a lot of tools for there to use. There's a sample email, and you can thank Troy for that. A couple of years ago, I kind of stole something that he had created for his employees. So we got an example there that you can use, or you can steal information off that if you want to. And we've also got one if you have a location that has TV screens up around that's showing announcements and information. There's files for that as well, so you can get a document or an image that'll fit onto your screens. So also, if you have other things that you've used in your company that have been successful, let us know. You can send those over to us. We've got a little spot on that page where we can post some things that have worked for other companies too, because we're always looking for different ways. As we've talked about before, it's different for every company. And so anything that we can provide for companies to get started and help people out with marketing would be great. All right, another tool that we use for admins is our weekly communication. I've talked about this a couple times through the presentation, but once we get going here in the next couple weeks, we won't do it weekly right away, but the admins will send something to you. I like to say we will hold your hand along the way. We know there's a lot of information. It can be overwhelming. You have your own jobs to do on top of this, and we understand that. So every week we'll have the email, or the email on the right there. You can see in that image, it says participation deadlines this week. That's an example of an admin email that once we get into the games, into May, every week, there's an email on Monday morning that'll come to you that says what deadlines are this week, maybe a reminder of some information about that and how to make sure you're telling us correctly that you have a team. That example there too has like our duathlon triathlon, because there's a packet pickup the day before, and it's a little bit different. There's a little more detail to that event, so we have that information in there for you. We'll have that in the employee email as well, but we have that in there for you so you can tell employees if they ask. And then on the example on the left there is the email that will go to the employees, and we'll send out our first employee email in a couple of weeks. We do like to give you as the admin time to put out your own promotions, especially companies that have participated previously, because most of your employees have accounts already and they can go in there now, but we want to make sure that you have the chance to, if there's any questions you want to ask employees, things like that, you have a chance to get in there first before it's really published. So in a couple of weeks, we'll wait a little bit, and then we'll put something out, kind of globally to let everybody know that it's open and they can get in and start declaring interest for events. And so again, both of those emails come out on Monday, the admin email, and then about 15 minutes later, that employee email. And that employee email will go to everybody that has an account in Corporate Games Manager for an active company. And the admin email will just go to your company administrators. And these do go through Robly. I want to let you know that that's the email service that we use. So we'll try and check, at least on the admin side, the first few weeks here to make sure that you're receiving those emails. So So if we bug you a little bit about it, I apologize, but we want to make sure that you're getting those emails and they're getting through your system, because sometimes you have to whitelist it on the other side with the IT department. All right, I'm going to turn this over to Tim with Market Branding Solution, talk a little bit about the company apparel.
Hey, good morning. Appreciate that. Yeah, so last year, you guys probably recall, was the first year I'd sponsored and had a chance to work with, probably 5 or 6 of your groups. And we, first of all, want to say thank you very much for using market branding for your t-shirts. But we're back at it again this year. And as you know, the camaraderie and the team building, all that's great. And we may as well make you look like a team. And so we can handle really any of your apparel needs, anywhere from a basic t-shirt to, you know, a Nike dry fit or a generic moisture wicking type shirts, and can handle really any kind of print that you might be looking for as well. If you're having a problem with the logo, we can help you come up with some designs through my graphic designers that we currently work with. Pricing should be extremely competitive. And, you know, one thing I noticed was the Des Moines partnership coming out with the local challenge. And I definitely want everybody to keep that in mind. We know there's a lot of options when it comes to buying apparel, a lot of online companies that you can go and work with. We would certainly appreciate you trying to remain local. If you've got a local supplier that you're using already, by all means use them. If you do not have a relationship with anyone, we would certainly love to have you. I think you'll be impressed with the work that we do. And look forward to hopefully getting out there and competing this summer. If anybody has any questions, I'll give you my number. It's 515-509-8268. And then the email is tvastine@market, that's MARKIT, branding.com. And we'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it. And kind of following up with what Tim said, his contact info, we will have that on that email that Kyle's sending out. And kind of going through with the shirts, we do encourage that. I know a lot of companies do company shirts. And so from our end, it's fantastic, especially the team sports where we might have 30 teams there. Looking on that screen now, I can identify the EMC team pretty quickly, or the Business Solver team. I know where they're at because of their shirt. So it makes it a lot easier when they have matching company shirts. So it's definitely a good thing for us. And as Tim mentioned, if you have a supplier already, you have someone local you're working with, you know, feel free, if you're putting out an RFP as far as trying to get prices and stuff, you know, add Tim to that and see how he does, you know, with you. So we're definitely want to encourage people to consider working with Market Branding Solutions and definitely keeping it local. All right, so now we're going to get into the Corporate Games Manager piece of this. Give me a second, I'll get switched over to our website. All right, and it looks like hopefully you guys can all see that. It's fantastic. Okay, so real quick, since we're already here on the website, before we go to Corporate Games Manager, my screen here. So you'll see right there, we've got the ability employees can go right in and set up their dashboard right away. I think I need to update my screen. There we go. And so we've got some information right on the front, just some quick reference things for employees. We've got our events calendar. You can see today is a company administrator meeting, and we'll start putting events on that as we get going here. Our leaderboard, always an important piece. We've got the top 3 listed right now. It's in alphabetical order, of course, so we don't have any points. But if your company, as we get points going and your company's not in the top 3, we've got the full leaderboard here as well that people can see. And so it's nice and long with all the companies we have participating this year. Some other things, our events, every event has its own page. We've got this drop-down menu that you can look at. Our sponsors, you know, feel free to look at our sponsor page, and we encourage you to work with our sponsors as much as you can. We appreciate all of them and help and support this event and keeping it going. And so if you have any opportunities to work with those sponsors, we'd really appreciate it. Our admin toolkit, as I mentioned earlier, here's what that looks like. Again, all of the information is here. That sport roster limits, deadlines, and schedule availability document I was talking about. You can see it, download it if you want to take it right there, but it'll always be on the website and updated. All of the calendars, as Kyle mentioned, here's say the Division I calendar. A second there. That'll show you that specific division's calendar. So you can download that for your division, or you can have the full Division I as well. Again, promotional materials are all here. Here's an example with the flyer. Here's where you can insert your company logo at the top, and then a spot to insert the company code, which we'll talk about here shortly. So if there's, if you have questions about something, I always recommend first things first, look at the website, and that's probably, usually the answers are there. Not guaranteed that they're always going to be there, but we try to put them there. So I got my screen here, so I can't see that side. There we go. Okay. All right, so dashboard. First things first, here's a login screen, new user. Very simple to set up, email, password, first and last name, and then gender and date of birth. And of course, we need that for certain events in order to get them in the right age group. The company code, as I've talked about, this code is specific to your company. And this is how people get attached. If they're new employees, this is how they will get attached to your company. And let's see if I can, yeah, there we go. So I've got one for us, and see how it turned to green, tells you the company name under it. That's a good way to be sure that they're signed up for the right company. And then for employees, if they are interested in volunteering, here's where they can tell you no or yes. If they select yes, you'll be able to pull that on a report and see which employees are interested in volunteering for the corporate games. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. Actually, you know what? I will not do that. I have new admins. You will, if you are new to the corporate games, you don't have a company login already, you haven't been in the system, we'll send you an invitation email after this meeting's over. If you've been in the system already and you're not new to the corporate games this year, your account is up, it's ready to go. So I think we've got everybody, even if you weren't an admin last year, you have admin permissions now. So that should be all ready. You can get in there and start working on it right now if you want to. But if you're new, you're going to get an invitation email. I sent one to one of my email addresses, and so you can see what that looks like here. Pretty simple. You'll just accept that invitation. If you don't get that within a few hours, let us know, because we can do something else. And as Georgia was talking about autofill, it definitely causes problems sometimes with some things. So I'm just gonna throw in a date of birth and everything. I'm gonna set up my account just like I would, or just like you will. And the password does like letters and numbers and has to be 8 characters at least. So I'm going to say I am interested in volunteering. No, we didn't just say that. So now it may ask me to log in again. So we're going to do that with that new account I just set up. So that is key to this. Make sure you log in. We'll go and we'll do this the easy way. So make sure you log in at the second time, and it will ask you to agree to the waiver. So that's why it's important to go back and log in after you set up your account. It has to go through that process to get the account set up. And then the first thing you'll see, you won't see this dashboard screen right away. You'll see a screen to do the waiver. And as a system admin, I can go in anybody's account, and Kyle can too. So that's kind of a nice thing to be able to do. But this is the screen you'll see as you log in that first time. You'll see the waiver, so people can read through that if they like, and then hit I agree. And that's one time a year. That's it. So now we're back to that screen to put everything in. Should work better on your side than it does for me, being that I have a bunch of accounts. Okay, so this is the dashboard screen. Kind of run through a little overview of this, and I know a lot of you have probably seen this, so we do ask you to stick with us because we do have a few little changes to this. I want to make sure everybody understands it as we go through it. And so your dashboard, real simple stuff. Your My Info button, that's the info I just put in. You can change your password right there. the sign up for events. This is where it's going to show you all of the events that you are eligible for. We had our check-in event I put today just for a test, but you'll see bags. You'll see with the age group I put in, I'm not 18 to 29, but the age group that I put in shows that I'm eligible for that age group into the basketball shooting competition. So real simple here. You just check the events that you're interested in. We'll hit sign up for these events. Now, if I did it right, yep, some of the events do have questions attached to them, and this is helpful for you as a company administrator to be able to see if someone's interested in being a sport captain. Or like for golf, you know, if they have a handicap, bowling, it'll have maybe if you have an average. So all those things are in there, and these are not required fields. They're open-ended, so people can put whatever they want in there. I'm not going to put anything in at this time, but I'll just hit save there for it. And now you can see on the dashboard, I've got the events that I'm interested in. You can see events that are unlimited, such as blood drive and cross country that I put in. I'm automatically entered in those events. I can remove myself over here if I'd like. Anything that's a team event or has a limit like track and field is listed as pending. So that's where someone has to act on the other side, company admin or a sport captain, to get them in the system. All right, question about the company code. Not a problem. I can show you that here in just a second. Alex, your question about if repeat participants have to set up an account or be invited in again. No, if you have an account from last year, you're already in the system. So all you have to do is log in with username and password. And David mentions the company code. That's a great question. I did skip over that. As the first admin, if we have it set up right, it's always hard for me to tell on my end, but if it's set up right, the very first admin that logs in for your company should be directed directly to the manage organization page. So this edit organization, you'll see your company name. You'll see you can put in your website address, not absolutely necessary. It's nothing that we do anything with. You'll see what division your company's in. Here's the company code. This is, we purposely put it in this system and have you go look for it just to make sure everybody's going into their account, getting familiar with Corporate Games Manager. So that's where you'll find that code for your company. So if you have questions about that, if you're struggling with it, let us know. We'll help you, but it's just on that manage organization screen once you get in. All right, and then here's the spot where you can say, would you like to provide volunteers? I've already said yes. I've been in the system obviously before. And so this is where you can change it to say yes or no. Please check that one way or the other. That way we know. Oh, here's a good question. A company that didn't participate last year but did in 2018, as long as you've used Corporate Games Manager before, then your people are still in the system. So I think this is our 3rd year of using Corporate Games Manager. So everybody that's used it the past 2 years, 18 and 19, will have their people still in here for 20. We haven't removed anybody. Also on this manage organization screen, if you want to ask questions, examples would be a t-shirt size, you know, as Tim had mentioned, for shirts. If you want to have company shirts, here's where you would put in a question. Now these again are open-ended, so the answers, you might want to specify how you want the answers just to help out on the reports that you'll get, but you can ask up to 10 questions in here. I think the most we've seen are 4 or 5 typically. So you can ask something like a cell phone, things like that. Those are all good. Question about if someone's forgot their password, there is a thing on the screen about password reset. And so they should try that first. If they're having trouble getting an email for resetting their password, just contact us and we can help out with that on our end too. All right, so back in our dashboard, again on this menu, the top set is what everybody will see. Every employee will have that. The Burst Your Thirst dashboard, we'll actually shut that off after today until Burst Your Thirst starts in June. But it's just one thing we want to show you, that it's an option. Burst Your Thirst, Run Through Live Healthy of Iowa, of course, so it has its own system. We started this last year just as a quick way for people to go back and forth. So as long as your username and password matches on this site and on the Live Healthy site, it'll click right over. I'm going to tell you right now, mine won't work because I use my work email address for that. So, but this will show you what happens when there's an error. And so the error will tell somebody exactly what's wrong, and it'll say that the username and password have to be identical, and then you can just go ahead and go over and log in. So if I was using my other account, it would have came right to this screen because I'm already logged in over there. So you'll see this is my dashboard. All right, and so we do have a log out button. We know some people share computers, so that was one thing we hadn't thought of. We added that last year onto this. But company administrator functions, we'll kind of go through this in detail, but we talked about declaring interest already. So I've got people that I've created in our system that already have declared interest, such as myself here. So if you go into event participation, this is where you're telling us yes or no for your company for participating in team events. So the first thing you'll see up here is this toggle button for team events. It's showing you the events that you need to tell us yes or no on. And you can see here bags, basketball, teams, bowling, all that's there. There's a search box because there's a couple pages of this you can go over. Triathlon, it's triathlon's a little, team triathlon, sorry. Team triathlon is a little weird because of how it's set up. We have to have some teams set up so that you can organize your teams on your end, but at the same time, the yes or no honestly doesn't matter too much for us because we'll handle that with the actual check-in at the event. But everything else, if I go to bags, this is a good example here because you are allowed to have more than one team. So I'll show a couple of examples, but here's where you can determine if people are on a team. I'm going to select myself for a team and on team 1, and there's my other person. So you're allowed to have 2 teams, as it says right here. This is where you need to tell us that. This is really important because the way it's set up right now, I'll see that there's 1 team. In fact, right now I won't see that at all because I didn't answer the question. But if you select 2 teams, now you can select people to the different teams. So everybody that you select to be on a team will get on their dashboard and they should get an email. Go into my emails and there we go. See, I've been added to a corporate games roster. I'm on team 1 for bags. So people will get those emails. Back on the event participation screen. This is where I need to be told yes, or we need to be told as a staff that you'll have teams. Apologize, internet's a little laggy right now. And so now you can see it's listed as yes, 2 teams. We have the 4 slots. We've filled those, of course, shows how many people are interested. So you've got all that there. If you need to change this, we did have some issues with this last year. It looked a little bit different, so we tried to change it up to where the logic still works on the backside, but it makes it more clear that I've said yes. I can change that to no. So now it's no. Otherwise, now it's yes. So that's an important piece of that. So that works for all of the events. Again, if I go into, say, women's bowling, I see I've got a couple people. There's another piece in here. We've had this, it was a request a couple years ago. If you have some users that maybe need to add quickly or they don't normally use a computer at work, you can look up people by their name. And so it may not work for me right now because I think I have both of the women that I have in my system on here, but it'll show you the eligible users for that. So you can add people in that way as well if you need to. So also on the event participation screen we get back to, you'll see what the deadline is for these events. Bags, as I mentioned earlier, was July 1st at 5 p.m. That's the deadline. That's when this yes will lock in place and you won't be able to change it. Question about on the manage organization tab, can we change the sign up for volunteer option? I believe once you've selected it, yes or no, you can't. We can on our end. So once you have selected it, if you need to update that or change it before the deadline, just let us know, and we can do that manually on our side. But yeah, we've got it set up so that it can't be changed by the admin in case it says no and then it gets changed to yes later on. All right, so again, manage organization screen, we talked about that one. Manage captains, this is where you can add sport captains for the different events. And so you'll get a drop down of your users. I think on here, if people haven't agreed to the waiver, which none of my test people have, those are all fake accounts I set up. So it'll only show the people that are active in the system. That's another thing that we added for people that have used this for multiple years, because you don't want a list of everybody who's ever been in the company on this list. So we'll do that. I'm going to add myself as a captain. And so every event shows up on here. It's not necessary to add for every event. Like the fitness walk, you know, you might do that just so that they can see the list and communicate with people to try to encourage them to make sure they come out for that. But it's not necessary. Another thing we've done is a category piece to this on certain events. So if it's an age group event like the cross country race, rather than have to select every age group in this system to make them the sport captain of that age group, you can just do cross country race. Same for track and field. It's divided out just because there is a lot of events for track and field. We divided it by a female, male, and then the relay teams, just so you can see all those. So I'm going to hit save here, make myself a sport captain. And so you'll see a menu just popped up on the side here. And that's a sport captain menu. Anybody, whether they're an admin or not, if you make them a sport captain for an event, they will see this. And so now you can see down here, I have these managed events. And this is where you'll see all the age groups and see how many people are in them. But as you can tell, this is why we set up those categories. So if we kind of deviate here and stay with that sport captain piece, the managed rosters, this is where sport captains can do the same thing with selecting people for a roster. Cross country is probably a bad example of that, but you can see that there's somebody signed up to participate at least, and they can communicate with that person if they want to. And if we go back to track and field, that's probably a better example of this. So we have the relay teams. This is where people need to be assigned to an event. And sport captains, an important piece of this, sport captains can't say yes or no to whether your company is participating in a team event. It does have to be an admin that does that. So we've done that on purpose just to avoid any confusion. So here's where the sport captain, they can add someone to that 4x4 relay team. So again, back to the captains menu for the admins. You can add new captains. You can edit captains. I can take away these spots from this particular sport captain. I could give them to somebody else. I can add any combination of sport captains on there. So the volunteer piece, this is where you'll select your preferences. I had selected preferences in here already. I do believe that all should be cleared from last year, but if it's not, let us know and we will do that. This is where if there's any assignments that show up, any open assignments, and I'm going to have to log into my other screen because I had an open assignment that was supposed to show up here, and I'm going to show you guys how that works for this year. So let me jump back into my regular account. And I'll just do this quick on the back end. This is our fun spot where we can make changes. Oh, I see why. Derek, you went in and took my assignment. I'm not surprised, since you guys are at home or somewhere you have the ability to do this. It allows people to do that. So I had this set up to show up at 7:30 in the morning. So I'm going to go in there and do this again. All right. So now you can see that there's an open spot, and these are going to come open. We'll let you know when these are going to be available. And so when they come open, it's pretty simple. You just click claim it. And now it becomes one of your assignments for your company. And looks like we have a question here. It's all right, Derek, no problem. All right, so now that it's assigned to my company, I'll hit assign. I can assign people, and these are all the people that said yes to volunteering in the company. I made everybody say yes to ours. And so if I assign it to my other account, that's one person. I can assign it to another employee, or this is also new this year. We've had people ask, to be able to assign non-employees. And so this is where, you can put in a name and optionally you can put in an email address, just so you have the email of that person. So now you do have both of those filled legitimately, where in the past it would just show you the employee. So now you can show everybody that way. For the volunteer piece, the admins are the only ones who can access this. That was a question that we had, if we could give that to a sport captain, but the volunteer piece does have to be handled by an admin. So in this case, if you have someone specific in the company you'd like to have help with volunteering, or multiple people, we can add them as an admin. Just let us know, and we can do that. And as long as they know kind of what their what their role is. So the next part of the menu is managing employees. This is where you can invite people into the system, similar to what I did for the test admin account that I set up. I don't recommend this. It's better to let people set up their own accounts. All this does here is it'll send that email kind of as the same invite. We do it for the admin specifically because we have to give them admin permission beforehand. It's just easier that way. And so you can do this if you feel like you'd like to use it. It'll send an email, same email again. You can add more than one email address in here, just separate them by a comma. I wouldn't recommend doing more than 10 just because it may trigger a spam warning on your company side with all those emails coming through at once. And so you can do that if you like. If that happens, they'll show up in your employee list, but they won't have a name in here until they set up their account. So that's why we recommend people just set up their own accounts. That way we know that they've fully gone through, they've gone into it. They may never finish setting up their account if they just do the invite. But all of your employees on here, you can edit their information. If you want to help them with the password, you can do that. If you want to change whether they're volunteering or say they're interested in volunteering, that can all be done right here. Can help them out with that. This is another I showed earlier where you can add events for them. This is kind of a global setup for that. So this test employee that I created, you can see what events she has already signed up for or showed interest in. You can remove her from those events, and then I could add events, and it would show me the same. It'll show me the same screen that she would see as far as what she's eligible for. So now you can see that screen here. It won't show the company questions afterwards. It'll just go straight back to the previous screen, but or to the manage employee screen. But you can add events quickly for someone there if they're unable to do that. If you need to remove an employee, you can do that. This will remove them from your company. They'll stay in our system, but it will remove them from the company. If you want to go through and clean up a list, if you're looking at last year's list of employees that are no longer with the company, that's one thing you can do to clean them out of this list. Another feature here, I'm going to go back to the dashboard to show you, is our news feature. Here you can see there's two sections to this. First section is from our staff. We have the ability up in the top here. This is part of our admin screen, but we can set up news for everybody to see, everybody in Corporate Games Manager. You can set up news specific to your company. And so I have created one. Really simple. Give it a title and then give it information. And it does have some HTML stuff. So if you want to change the formatting, add links, things like that, you can. I'll go back to the one I have created because it allows you to publish, unpublish them. So right now, this one is in here, not published. So you can have some news items that you might use later, or you might want to keep for next time. And so you just hit publish. And now on the dashboard, that's under here. So news from your company admin will show up there. And then also on this dashboard, you don't see it on mine, but there is a spot up here that'll say contact company for normal employees. That's where, in case they don't know who all the admins are, they can go in there and click that button and send an email to every admin. Everybody's got admin permissions to ask a question about something. Now the reports feature, as we talked about, I don't have the check and report in here yet. We'll have to get that added, but basically this is where you can run different reports. The participant by user summary. I think this is new this year. I can't remember when we added this, but it does have another level. So you can add just by the categories, which were the events that I talked about that have different age groups, or you can add a specific event. If you just want to see who's interested in Burst Your Thirst, you can do that and pull that list. I don't have any users in there for that, but that's what it'll do. The difference between the participant by users and the participant by summaries, the summary and the detail, these reports look the same, but the summary, the difference is each person who's in the system, it'll show them on one line in an Excel sheet, and then it'll say all the events that they've declared interest for in one cell. It's a good way to get a quick pull of everybody in there. Again, if you pull them by event, it'll pull the people for those events. It'll filter that, but it still shows all the events that they've showed interest for. The detail shows everybody in a row for every event. So if I sign up for 3 track events in the fitness walk, it'll show me 4 times in there. And so that way you can sort that and filter that out too. It still has the ability to do the categories. So you can play with those and see what you like best to use. The volunteer report, this will show people who have said they're interested in volunteering. So another quick way to do that, and see all the people that have said yes in our system. And then you could, quickly pull everybody's email address and shoot them an email. tell them what events you guys have. Let's see, our event questions report. This is where the questions for the different events, if someone is interested in being a sport captain, things like that. This shows for every event. And so you can see if they've answered a question, and honestly, I have no answers in here, but it will show you those answers if they do have one. The company questions report, this is where if you're asking questions such as a t-shirt size, things like that, I don't have any questions in here, so it's not going to show up for me, but it'll show your employees and then it'll show their answers to those questions afterwards. So you'll be able to see that. And then the volunteer assignment report, this is where if you've been assigned any volunteer spots, you'll be able to see those spots, see if you've assigned people to them, just another quick way that you can do that and pull a report if you need to. And again, we'll add that check and report to this as well. To give you an idea, I can show you on our side, we have global reports for this. And so we do have that set up. And so I can do it by event. So if I do test check in, I won't do that because I'm sure it's going to show some people that have checked in, but we'll get that set up. We'll check with our software person to make sure we get that in there as quick as possible. But want to make sure ours was working first for that. All right. So I kind of covered how all that works. Actually, you know what? We did not cover the check-in itself. If you did not check that out, I can show you real quick how that all works. So when people are at an event and they're looking to check in, say without that QR code, oh, my events aren't open anymore. This is what it'll show. It'll show a screen here where they can check in. I'm going to go back in and make sure that check-in event is live in here. What is active? Let me double check that. I haven't tested this live like this before, so, but they will have a screen. We've got some, actually on the homepage of the website, this might be the easiest way to show you, is event check-in instructions. So this is for employees, just a quick tutorial of how to set up their accounts. And we also added the event check-in at the end, just so they know how that works too. So you'll see, here's our example bowling check-in. You'll click find user, pull up names. I searched for my own name in this scenario and showed up. Select that user. Very similar if you've done this before with our other system, it works basically the same way. But this also has the ability now, if you can't find a user, they can create an account. So we may have that person kind of step off the side if they don't have their account set up. So we highly recommend that people have their accounts already in here when they show up to an event, just to keep things moving quickly. Once they select their user, it'll show if they're, say, for bowling, you know, co-ed and men's. And we do this so that you can pull reports on your end more specifically too, as what people were there for. If I was there for co-ed, I'd hit check-in, and here's where it says that I have successfully checked in at bowling. And so I'll have to check that on the mobile side of it with that to make sure that that screen's showing up. But Patrick, that was a question you had. And so you can see that's what it should do. So I'll make sure that that does. All right, so quickly, we're going to do go into our strategies for success for the Des Moines Corporate Games. Troy really hit on these really well at the beginning of this presentation, so I appreciate that. Communications are huge, and communications are big for us. Like I said, we do the weekly emails. We're sending out emails when schedules are available to admins. We're trying to be in constant communication, trying to hold your hand, you know, make sure that you have the tools that you need to be successful. So communication is key to that. And the website is another piece of that tool where there's the ability to interact with your employees, the event pages, everything kind of rolls in together with that. So if there's anything that we're missing or that we're lacking, let us know. We're happy to do more. We're happy to add more details. We want to make this as successful for you as possible. Delegation, again, Troy touched on this too. Don't take it all on yourself if you can avoid it. Find some employees that are willing to help out. If it's something that's become part of your job, some people it is. It's been put into your job description to help with corporate games, and so that may be a bigger part of what you do. But still, you'll probably want some help along the way. Some people, and you're going to find employees that are really interested in helping with this, especially if they just have to do a little piece of something or take on a certain role for you. So that's something we definitely encourage. And then finding your company's strengths. you don't have to participate in everything. If you can and are willing to as a company, that's great. You know, we love seeing you out there at the different events. We do see some familiar faces, a lot of people that will be coming to the same events over and over, or to the different events over and over, same people, but it's not required to participate in all the events. And so if you're a smaller company and some of the team sports are a little hard to get people together, maybe focus on a few that you know that you'll be successful at, and get your teams together. Try to get your group out to the fitness walk. You know, if you have 20 employees, you know, see if you can get everybody there. Get everybody to sign up for Burst Your Thirst. Try to find your strengths with that is kind of what we're saying. And then ask questions. Again, we're always available to answer questions. We're happy to do so. We've got some great company admins have been with us for 3, 4, 5 years now, and they are a great resource as well. So if we don't have a good answer for you, because sometimes it's better coming from somebody who is in your position, we'll help out. We know who to talk to. Troy's a good example of that. I know to ask him a question, or if you're a smaller company, I might ask Denise over at McGowan, you know, what works for them. So we've definitely got people that we can talk to and connect you with. And from everything that I've seen, they're all willing to help out. Everybody wants this to be successful in your companies. We're competing against each other. Everybody understands that to a point, but at the same time, we're all what's the saying? A rising tide lifts all ships. So we're all interested in making this better for everybody. All right, and thank you for sticking with us for this presentation. It's a lot different over webinar than it is in person. Wish we could be there to see everybody, but at the same time, this is a lot of important information for you. And so now, if you'd like to ask some questions, we will kind of hang out here and are happy to answer them. If you want to hang out and listen to some of the questions and answers, feel free to do so. If you have places you need to be, you got some work that you need to get done, need to go walk the dog, go ahead. You know, you can take off now if you want. We are recording this. We will have it available on our website. We'll send out a message on that to let people know when that's available. It should be yet today, but we'll have that available for you, and we will make the slide deck available as well. I believe too on the screen that you do have the ability to raise your hand if you want. We could unmute you at this point too. Now that we're done presenting, if you want to ask a question by voice, we're happy to do so. All right, Gene, looks like you have a question. I have unmuted you. Are you there, Gene? I can't hear you. We'll see if Jean joins in with her question, but, oh, there you are. Hi, Jean.
Hi, actually, this is Amy Podmalik, sorry, from Telecorporation. Just a clarification, I just wanted to make sure I didn't hear something incorrectly. So road race, duathlon, triathlon, there's still no charge, right, for corporate games, or there is going to be a charge this year?
No, you're correct. It's still free, and we might not have clarified that when we were going through. We were talking more about for if you have family and friends that want to participate, they're not part of a company.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, yep. It's definitely free for all the employees. Yep.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
No problem. And Alex Batani, he's I believe Alex with Foster Group, if I remember right. He mentioned he's got a company about 55 people, and he did a lot of it on his own last year. So if you have questions, he's happy to be a resource. So that may be one where we kind of push out to if we have some questions and the size range that their company is in. You mentioned a lot of internal promotion and some peer pressure to get folks to participate. right, David, your question was the team roster part on the dashboard for our internal use only. Yes, we don't see that from our end. That's only for you to work internally to make sure that you have your team together. Again, that does send emails to people if they get picked for a team. The volunteer piece does too if you get assigned to a volunteer spot. Volunteers, we can pull the lists on our end to see, but the rosters we don't, because we just want to make sure that people have the teams in general. That's what we're looking for. All right, Alex, I see you got a question here. I'm going to unmute you. All right, go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I might have missed this earlier, but is there a better breakdown of the point system this year? Like if you can click on and see how the points were accumulated, or is it just truly a lump sum?
It's still a lump sum. That's something we're looking to add into the site. We do it to give everybody an idea of how we do this. We have an Excel file on our end. It's a very extensive Excel file that compiles everything. And so if you have questions about points in particular, don't be afraid to ask. We can show you that. We're willing to do that. It's just because it's an Excel file, it's not worth posting. It wouldn't be updated, and we don't want anybody changing anything, of course, on that. So, but we're happy to show that and what it is. I know volunteering was something we're trying to do more with as far as getting, making it more clear how the volunteer points work. So we'll try and do that this year. That's something that we haven't addressed to thoroughly yet, but we'll try and get that going before the summer starts. Thanks, Alex, for the question. And then another question about regularly meeting to determine how COVID-19 might affect the games. Yes, we're talking about that as a staff. As many of you probably know, we run the Iowa games. We do a lot of different large-scale events, especially in the summer. So we are talking daily right now, as I'm sure a lot of you are, as far as how it affects your businesses. And so, so at what point do we expect to have some communication on changes? I don't want to say a specific date. I know internally we're hoping at the beginning of May we'll have a good idea of what the next couple months looks like. Hoping what's going on now will have an effect for us, a positive effect, obviously, on how things are looking. We follow a lot of the recommendations. For example, when the CDC a couple weeks ago, this seems like an eternity ago now, but when the CDC recommended no gatherings of more than 50 people at a time, we immediately canceled 2 of our Iowa Senior Games events that we had planned for April and the second weekend in May, because that was going to cover through Mother's Day. So obviously that is a big factor in this. Health and safety is the most important part. So just to give an example, if for some reason we can't gather until maybe mid-June, then some of the events like the fitness walk, maybe we can do that in early August, or bowling, we can talk to the bowling alley and see if we can reschedule a date. Generally, if you've been with us the past few years, if we have something canceled because of rain or a thunderstorm, that's a last minute thing. We don't reschedule that. It's hard to redo. But if we're looking out weeks in advance on some of these events and some things might have to be scaled back or changed, then we're going to look to have them. Our goal is to have them if we can. At some point, it might not get realistic for certain events to do that, but a lot of what we do, everything is kind of an individual event. It's not all done in one collection, so we don't have to mass postpone or mass cancel. So we should be able to adjust. And again, we've got some ideas that we're working with now. This, as you saw, the check-in system allows us to do things online and possibly virtually. So maybe we do a virtual fitness walk, for a while, and that might not replace the fitness walk, but it may do for now. And then we work on social media interaction, things like that, to keep people interacting and engaging with the corporate games while we work on getting our normal events back into place. All right, is there any other questions? All right, well, we'll hang out here for a little bit longer. I'm going to stop recording.